Hi and welcome. My name is Joa and we'll continue playing Lotus Reverie. Let's see what this plot is here and what new mysteries await. Rosemary. Sing, the truth is, this place is enveloped in a veil of silence. The streets are clear of traffic, noise, or any signs of life whatsoever. I'm really tired. I didn't sleep at all. The reign of emptiness is a menace in and of itself. You have no idea what might be lying in wait around each corner, what might be hiding in each swaying shadow. Therefore, good night. But the same cannot be said of your companions on this trip. Are you really going to just let go of the wheel like that? Rosemary chuckles, breaking her playing possum act. With the threat of a crash looming ever closer, you are forced to scramble from your passenger seat and grab the wheel. You avoid the tragedy thanks to your quick reflexes and cool head, but it seems you are the only one in this vehicle who is even remotely worried. Careful there, you made some donuts drop on the floor. Thank God there's the 13-second rule. What in the world is the 13-second? Wait, how can you just lay there so calmly? What are you going to do? Find me? It's not like we're going to run anyone over. We could crash, just saying. Oh yeah, true. It won't be the first time. This kind of crucial information should be disclosed before the drive. It's okay, Sing. We're just trying to have a good time here. Don't be such a potty pooper. Weren't you sleeping? And could you please take the wheel before we all die in a horrible inferno? Doesn't seem to me like you're doing too bad for your first time. If you were here when the incident started, you would never have believed what some people got up to. Without anyone around to tell us no, we had quite a bit of fun playing bumper cars with real cars, or setting cars on fire and enjoying the ensuing explosions. Long jump competitions with cars, long jump competition with flaming cars. Remember the time I got all those cars onto the roofs of buildings to test how fast they hit the ground? All to show these dumbasses how they all fall at the same speed. What have cars done to deserve that kind of treatment for you? Ignoring how you barely managing to steer the car from the passenger seat, Rose leans her chair back, rests her head on her hands, and lets out a deep sigh. But of course, I imagine you're still in the raving panic phase. I could get over it if you at least try to take your foot off the gas pedal during these turns. Sing, it's completely different for us. All this madness started so long ago. How long has it been? Like 2 or 3 months? I've lost track, to be honest. That's long for you? Yeah, around that time. I think considering how almost all the food is either on the verge of expiring or has already gone bad. There's donuts too? Most likely, yes. Maybe you should check the expiration date before you gobble up the next one. The vehicle starts to slow down. Rose gazes out the window, watching the empty buildings flash by. It happened little by little without any kind of warning. People simply vanished. The city became a ghost of its former self, all without anyone noticing. In time there were none left except for a fortunate few, or unfortunate depending on your perspective. We refer to this phenomenon as the incident. Can you understand how we felt? Just like that, everything we believed is vanished. Nothing we'd done mattered anymore. It was like a game had been reset, and the few remaining players had to start from scratch in a sandbox city. You can imagine the initial chaos. Without any kind of authority enforcing order, it was only a matter of time before the riots, the robberies, and the killings. We had a lot of that last one here. At least that's how the disgusting urban legends go. But despite all that, we managed to bring peace. We took shelter in that castle. There's 6 of you. We fortified our defenses so nobody could cross the river to the south of the mountains to the north, or to the mountains to the north. If we are safe here now, it's because of the blood, sweat, and tears spilled to forge this small alliance. But what if there are more people hidden out there? Could someone cross the river and attack us? We don't really know. Of course, no place in this world is perfectly safe, but we're ready for anything that comes. That's strange. We have done our best to earn this well-deserved rest, and it's our regulations which serve as the foundation for a mutual trust that will otherwise be impossible. Rose turns your way, showing you a warm smile. Maybe you need to focus on a road. That soon becomes acidic. That's why we have the right to fool around as much as we want, got it? Oh, perfect. Rose floors the gas pedal. For some reason, a veritable avalanche of donuts starts pouring down from above your head, burying you alive. But despite this mountainous challenge, you somehow managed to prove your worth as a driver, as in the car and its contents didn't end up flattened against the wall. The other two even applaud your feat. In place of applause, I would much prefer the two of you to stop being savages for just a single moment. I agree. Getting out of the car, you found yourself in the outskirts of the city. You're parked in what seems to be a residential area with large gardens. Peering into the distance, you can even see a wall of mountains obscuring the horizon. We've arrived. This seems to be a normal suburban neighborhood full of medium-sized houses, definitely not what you were expecting. Still, the surprise pales in comparison to the anomaly in the sky that's been plaguing your mind since you left the castle. You cannot help but look back in the direction whence you came. A large black monolith towering up infinitely into the endless sky. That's... the monolith where the place once was. It's pretty close to the castle where we live, didn't you know? It just popped out of the ground when the incident happened. Nobody has any idea how or even when it came to be, but there it is. I'm sure you have many questions about it. But it's not like anyone here knows the answer either, so let's just leave them for later. Why they didn't check it? It must be somehow connected to the disappearance of people and the monolith appearance. The monolith appears completely out of place. Anyone would be astonished to see something so massive and otherworldly in the middle of a modern city. Or at least that's how it should be, because in your heart more than shock you seem to feel... Sing? No, it's nothing. Your attention shifts back to the others, especially Rue, who looks to be focusing his gaze on something. What's up, Rue? Sugar overdose? As if that's even possible. Rue scans his surroundings, his arms crossed. Oh, trying to look cool by showing off your super detective skills. Rose pretends to smoke a cigarette, make her voice as gravely as she can, and gazes into the distance. I've been to millions of crime scenes like this before. I can see everything that happened at first glance. Some people call it instinct. I call it experience. I have a hunch that this investigation could become electrifying. Terrible. Hey, that one was actually funny. You get it, right? You know, since we arrived at the If you explain the joke, I'll cut you. Was that supposed to be an imitation of me? Yeah, of course. Well, at least it will be if you actually did your work. You're not even wearing a trench coat. What a disgrace of a detective. I couldn't point out a lot of things wrong with that statement. For starters, we haven't actually reached the substation yet. Oh, you're wrong about that. This is the electric substation. Ask the super detective if you don't believe me. Super? Bah, forget it. While the duo is busy squabbling, you decide to take a closer look. With a careful eye, you manage to spot the facade of a house that's somewhat larger than the rest. It's camouflaged, hiding a completely different interior. If you get closer, you'll discover how the windows are fake as well. Windows? There are even ventilation grills hidden here and there. Camouflage substances are more common than you think, for two common reasons. The first is aesthetics. Imagine an ugly industrial building disrupting the neighborhood's vibe. Well, that makes sense, I suppose. What's the second reason? What is the purpose of camouflage? To hide things, I guess. A station is a very important building since it supplies most of the city's electricity. Camouflage is one method of taking precautions against vandalism. That's why one of the boss's first decisions was to secure all maps and information on crucial locations like this. But the power outage still happened. Well, an enemy's first thought will be to attack the electrical system. The only unusual part is how nobody dared to do so before this. Unless something changed. Ryu casts his gaze on you, clear disdain in his eyes. Can we go in now? The place won't investigate itself. Let's go, Super Detective. Break the lock and use your X-ray vision or something. Seriously, who gave you these ideas about detectives? The moment the three of you enter, Rose breaks formation and takes off on her own investigation with surprising speed. She strides quickly along the big machines, connectors, cables, and assorted paraphernalia you can't even name. You want to ask if there is anything you can do to help, but you are hesitant to interrupt her intense focus. In the end, you suddenly stay a few feet away from her to avoid interfering. Meanwhile, Ryu disappeared without you even noticing, leaving you stranded in this seemingly never-ending awkward situation. Good news, Sing. The chances of you being the culprit have dropped significantly. Aren't you glad? Rose hangs her arm around your neck, whispering directly into your ear. It seems a short circuit left the entire city without any power for a few seconds. Then the circuit breaker was tripped and everything returned to normal quickly except for the zone around the castle. What does that mean then? It means I know where the short circuit must have occurred, east of the castle, not that far away from the castle itself. That's why you are mostly in the clear. You were discovered approaching the castle from the west wall. It will have been quite a task to short that circuit and then loop around the entire castle in such a short amount of time, all without anybody noticing. I have an alibi then. Alibi. Aren't I the best of the best? Though we still have to figure out how exactly the short circuit happened, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The line system is out, but it's not that easy to create a short circuit. All the cables are underground, so it's pretty well protected. But it won't be in the clear if I manage to do it from a distance, or if... Sing, Rose retracts her arm from her shoulder and backs away, looking at you with a face full of bewilderment. Are you stupid? What do you mean? For heaven's sake, I'm trying to help you out and cheer you up, but all you do is complicate everything. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't really think that through. And you just blurted that out so easily. How do you all manage to stay so calm all the time? You're driving too... Even with all your nagging and complaining, you were as cool as a cucumber. You all? Who else are you talking about? Rose lets out a sigh, taking a second to gather her thoughts. No one in particular. I suppose that under the circumstances, it isn't so strange to come across people like you. Look, putting yourself in a risky situation... and blurting out things that make your own case worse is, not normal to say the least. That doesn't mean I don't care what happens to me. Of course I care, it's just… Rose plays with your cheeks, trying to squeeze your face into a smile. Come on, you're in a much better place compared to 5 minutes ago. Cheer up, I'll find you if you don't. You're right, but let me go. There's a lot more to do still. Exactly, you're still missing all the praise and thousand thanks you have yet to sing to your brilliant and incredibly beautiful savior. I mean, aside from that. What a bore. Alright, I'd spare you for now, but I vow to the heavens that I'll wring that gratitude out of you another day. For now, it should suffice if we simply take a look around. Our job is just to check all the rooms and machines so we can confirm no tampering happened here. I don't want them to make me come all the way back here just because I didn't give 100% of my attention. Makes sense. I think Ryu was already on the whole checking mission when he split off from us before. Alright then, let's divide the work to finish as soon as possible, and if you see Ryu, tell him I'm done with my task. Rose turns around to leave the room, but you stop her before she can go. Hey Rose. Yes? Thank you. Thank you, and what else? Just thank you. Boo, and for a second I thought I'd managed to cure your dullness. Still, no improvement, it seems. Yes. Not long after splitting up, you found Rue in a remote room. Focused on some large tubes and cables wrapping around those machines you can't name. He casts a short, quick glance at you, and then his attention immediately returns to the cables. Rose is done. She managed to isolate the zone where the problem must have happened. Best of all, it seems I have an alibi now, so… Rue doesn't seem to care about what you're saying. His intense study of these objects piques your interest. I don't know what happened. What are you looking at? Rue sighs and stretches behind his ears, obviously annoyed. Can we leave then? You nod, but can't take your eyes off his strange and uncharacteristic behavior. Something wrong? Nothing, I think, but haven't you noticed something off here? You step close to Rue, but you don't notice anything abnormal about those cables. What do you mean? You haven't realized it yet. You shuffle closer and closer, wondering if it might be an issue with perspective. When you've moved right next to him, you shudder, almost bumping into his. I was talking about you. Out of the blue, he grabs your wrist, his grip painfully tight. The ball before your eyes spins as he pulls you into a perfect grapple hold, making you stagger and lose your balance. He twists you around before you can resist, until you are forced to face the machines on the wall. Exerting complete control over your arm, he slowly drags it towards one of the uninsulated cables he had been focusing on just now. From your head's current position locked under his arm, you can't see the cables. You resist his pull with all your strength, all while trying to convince him of your innocence. Wait a moment here, Rose said that… That doesn't matter, Sing. You yell as loud as you can, struggling in every possible way, but he lifts you up until your feet are barely touching the ground, until you don't have the support to apply any force. The problem isn't so much anything you did per se, it's you, your very existence. It's everything we've built, the trust we had. Where is all that now? You just had to come out of nowhere, and with you, you brought the return of a possibility, one we had finally managed to discard after all this time. Now it's just a matter of time before doubt is born amongst us, before the shattering of the status quo we worked so hard to create. Don't bother asking if you're innocent or guilty. You're better off thinking of a reason why I or anyone else shouldn't end your life at any moment we wish. Your body trembles, your supply of adrenaline beginning to run out. There's likely not much time left before he forces your fingers to touch the cables. The justice you were so used to is over, Sing. Welcome to the real world. Sweat drips down your hands. Your breathing accelerates to the point where you're grasping for breath. Your eyes unconsciously squeeze shut. Rue's grip remains deadly firm. His attitude all this time had you completely fooled. Next time you need to be more careful, that is, if there is a next time, since you are about to feel your fingertips graze the cables. There you are. Has Sing filled you in, Rue? Rue lets you go unceremoniously. You barely stop yourself from collapsing to the floor. You open your eyes again, tempting to blink away the sting of sweat. Your blurry gaze darts between Rose waiting at the door at the other side of the room and Rue, his face as casual as unconcerned as ever. Yeah, I was telling her to be careful while we'll investigate. It'd be troublesome if we had any accidents now. His back turned to Rose. Rue sneers at you. His eyes cold. You instinctively back away from him. You open your mouth to speak, but Rose is ahead of you. Do you talking on the way home? I've had enough. All I want right now is to go back to the loving comfort of my bed. The girl walks away before you can even say anything, leaving you and Rue alone once again. You're not so stupid as to stay behind after what just happened, and you immediately run to the door. But behind you, Rue doesn't seem nervous, concerned, or worried in the slightest. Sing. He calls your name and uses one hand to point at the other. You can now see clearly he doesn't have any kind of gloves or protection on. Then he grabs one of the uninsulated cables on the wall. Surprise! Nothing happens, nothing but a slight mocking smile appearing on Rue's face. What? So, long live the Queen. There was not even a chance that he will kill us. That's interesting. Let's continue then. With slow steps, you ascend the magnificent spiral stairs. They seem to have to end, coiling all the way up to the sky. In silence, you let Rue go ahead of you. Finally, the staircase comes to an end. You have reached the last door and the highest point of the entire castle. A flash of light briefly illuminates his silhouette, and the beautiful urban landscapes comes into view. Ooh, yikes. It's not a pillar, it's something else. From the tower keep you can see the expanse of the entire city before your eyes. This place is the second highest point in the city, second only to the monolith. Its curved black walls don't match the rest of the landscape. The sight of the monolith renders you speechless. It is comprised of strange flat surfaces, jet black in color with an alien texture, ostensibly from another dimension or planet. Rue's voice finally brings you back to reality, as he starts his report of your findings at the electrical substation. Next to him stands Thestel, simultaneously listening and using binoculars to look out into the distance. Any estimate on when we will pinpoint the method and identify of the one responsible? Not much longer, Rose said. Something about how it's possible to triangulate the issue or whatever. I see. Aren't you going to say anything? Good job. Next with a few complaints about how I'm not being very helpful or clear. If you already know, why bother? True. Thistle sighs and offers his binoculars to Rue. Tell me what you see. Binoculars? Very funny. Thistle grabs Rue's shoulder and turns him to face the correct direction. South. You have to look south, just like always. And how am I supposed to know that? Orienting yourself nowadays is hard. Rue follows Thistle's finger from your position a few steps back. You also try to look for whatever you're supposed to be seeing. But the answer is simple than you expected. I see nothing. Exactly. Rue remains silent for a few seconds before Thistle shrugs and resumes the conversation. It's too soon to speak, but I'm just telling you so you can try your best. There may be not much time left. You know perfectly well I'm the least troublesome of the bunch, and I trust it will remain that way. Back to the business. The good news is the Sink isn't guilty. Am I wrong? Did I mention any of that? Thistle's face hardens, serious and cold to the point where it would give anyone the chills. Brew, My eyes and ears can reach further than you expect. Oh, really? What you had for breakfast? I know. Uh-huh. Well, had the same. That fire started this morning. I also know. Oh no, impossible. The kitchen is still filled with this extinguisher foam. I even know the color of your socks this morning. Yeah. Yeah. Yawn. We just arrived. They are the same. I also know that x equals minus b plus minus square root b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2a. Also, there's a small detail that if Singh was guilty, Rosemary wouldn't be gone. Nor would she have left in charge someone able to sleep while standing upright. Oh yeah, whatever, boss. Whatever you just said. Alright, let's go with whatever I just said then. Thanks, Rue. That's all. You finally cut off this absurd dialogue, attracting the attention of this supposed leader. The attitudes of those two would make anyone livid, but you somehow managed to keep yourself calm. How can you two just joke around the situation and joke about me even though I'm literally right in front of you? I don't really understand the issue. Would you prefer to be locked in a cell? You know perfectly well I don't mean that. Then take it easy like the rest of us. We're treating you this way so you can relax and not feel paranoid about us talking about you behind your back. Take it easy? Do you know what Rue tried to do when I was taking it easy before? I know, I was the one who asked him to do it. He still doesn't let you finish. His abrupt interruption leaves you speechless. It wasn't easy, but she finally got scared. It was obvious she wasn't paying any attention. As if those kinds of cables would just be left out there in the open without any kind of protection. She didn't even realize I wasn't wearing any gloves. Her reaction was hilarious. Do you really think we could gain anything by sending the newbie to investigate? We wanted to test you. Test me? While Ryu here looks rather deadpan, he's actually pretty good at reading other people. He knows if someone is lying, if they're surprised, or if they're afraid of death. So that car ride and those cables... We don't just need to know if you're innocent, Singh. We first have to prove you are human. Human? Of course I am. Now you're the one looking for a punchline to this joke, a punchline that never comes. If she's acting, we'd have a genius on our hands. A performance worthy of an Academy Award. But that's good. Now I can keep my word and give you some explanations. Are you ready? Cecil opens his arms to highlight the surroundings before starting his ardent speech. You probably know that one day, without any warning, people began to vanish from this world one by one. And among this few survivors, there is only one peculiarity. Half of them are not human. They are tulpas. The last word drills itself into your brain. It resonates vibrantly, an echo with an unknown, untraceable source. People who look just like you and I, in fact they are indistinguishable from humans except for one thing, their immortality, most of the time. Immortality? How is that possible? Shoot them and they'll bleed like any other, but then after a while they will rise back up again as if nothing happened. Poison their food and they'll be knocked out in an instant, but they will then wake up as if it was just a simple nap. Cut them into pieces and they'll reappear from around the corner. I know it sounds unrealistic, but we have seen it with our own eyes. I think we still have a video around here, a bit gory, mind you. No need for details. They feel pain like any other, but at death's door they have this miraculous ability to recover. Yes, but what problem with them? Okay, they cannot die. What they do? As you can imagine, it is hard to prove who's human or tulpa without first breaking a few basic and universal rights. Yeah, why we need to prove it? Wait, let's suppose I believe all of this about the tulpa or whatever. Are they dangerous or something? Yeah, That's the question. Not as much as any other human, if that's what worries you. Traditionally, the tulpa has always been considered a legend. A spell that allows you to create a new and independent being from your subconscious mind, a body with its own free will, we could say. Then what's the problem with them? Can you believe it? Being able to use your imagination to bring forth a life practically identical to a human, which exists separated from you. It sounds like a big fat lie or the crazy dream of a maniac magician, but since all this started, we have seen tulpas emerge from every human. Every one of the very few humans remaining in this world witnessed the appearance of their own tulpa, without any apparent cause or help. They were no longer just a part of the human imagination, they are real, tangible, and intelligent. To tell them apart, we call the human member of the pair the host, since it is from their mind that the tulpa comes to life. You're telling me that half of the people alive are actually tulpas, even here in the castle? For what I know, Thistle could be one, or myself, or even you, see? There's one little detail worth considering. Even if the tulpas are real, they are, let's say, incomplete. Right now, the tulpa and host are bonded, each depends on the other. Their lives are intertwined. If the human dies, the tulpa dies with him, and vice versa. If human dies, the tulpa dies with him. But you said that tulpa are immortal. And how does it work vice versa? How do you understand the significance of our group having an odd number of people after you came along? Ignoring his irritatingly passive-aggressive attitude, he focused on trying to piece together such an implausible puzzle. Then the regulations, only living in groups of 3 and avoiding conflict in the castle. If 3 people go out, we are sure that at least one person of the trio is not part of a host tulpa pair. Okay. It would therefore be stupid for a host tulpa pair to do anything suspicious. Everyone else still in the castle would realize immediately if one of the 3 was killed, since their counterpart in the castle would also die on the spot. The second regulation is just a consequence of the first one, something obvious that works by itself. I understand. They said that tulpa is immortal, they cannot be defeated, they can be dead, and now they can kill it. I don't understand it. Something obvious that works by itself. Since we don't know who is or isn't immortal, that works as an element of deterrence, as long as we all share a common place to live. Even if a duel started, the rest of us could act quickly to respond. A duel? What? My apologies, there was so much to cover that I forgot to clarify that. Ryu looks at Thistle for a second before shrugging his shoulders and leaving him to continue. You see, the tulpa does have flaws in its immortality. There are 3 ways they can actually die. How do you know that? The first method is, as I previously mentioned, is killing their host, the human counterpart. Human dies, tulpa dies. The second is even more simple, just waiting. Every tulpa has a limited lifespan. Ah, okay. They are immortal, yes, but only for as long as their batteries last. The third and final way is related to the first. A host of tulpa can challenge another host of tulpa to a duel where both pairs will participate. In this 2 versus 2 duel, the tulpas will lose their immortality. Huh? A battle to the death that cannot be refused and will not end until one of the parties is fully annihilated. The host and the tulpa share the same life during this duel. Their pain, their damage, and even their senses. Both start to grasp what the other feel, and in the same way they share the same destiny. The most common of these 3 methods is the last, the duel. First because it is more honorable, but also because it is necessary. Thistle nods, smiling as if there was anything in his words worth smiling at. Why? Why do we have to play along with these tools or regulations? Aren't there are so many other things more important to do right now? Like trying to figure out what's happening or where everyone who's disappeared went? I wish it were that easy, Sing. The two men look away into the distance. For the first time, you notice the slump in their shoulders from the pressure. Thistle takes the binoculars from Ryu and hands them to you. I am pretty sure the monolith caught your eye already. It takes you a while to react until Thistle raises an eyebrow and offers his binoculars. You may have forgotten all about it, the amnesia, but for us it is so real, so authentic. It induces fear just thinking about it. And one look at the monolith is all we need to do to be reminded of this reality. Written in the ardent characters that shine white in the sunlight, you see them. The words sculpted into the black walls enumerated simply. One for each human, a unique tulpa in accordance with their wishes. Second, if the human host dies, its tulpa shall die too, and vice versa. The tulpa's lifespan is short, but can be extended by absorbing their fellow tulpa in a duel. Or, during a duel, the tulpa and the human share the same life, and the former will lose their immortality. Duels cannot be rejected, but in exchange the receiving end will unconsciously choose the space limits of the duel. Your hands holding the binocular trembling, making it harder and harder to keep reading. But there is one more rule, one last sentence you can barely believe. This situation won't simply end on its own, Sing. You have to realize, we're trapped in a game with a very clear set of rules. The lives of humans and tulpas are linked. Tulpas have limited time, so their host's life is limited too. The only way to extend that life is through a duel, where you must take someone else's life to prolong your own. Can you see the macabre game we are in? Sixth, this competition will end when only one and their conscious tulpa remains, who will be rewarded with humanity in its wish. Oh, in the end only one will remain. One single human with their own tulpa. Everyone else has to die. Oh, that's why there was 6 of them. Wait, that means that there were more of them. No matter how great the things I build. Okay. Let's I think that we will end it here. It's interesting, but the gameplay still doesn't begin. But it was interesting, but it's almost only my readings. So, we will try it another time. It's already too long. I hope you enjoyed. Smash like if you did, leave your comments and subscribe. See you in the next videos. Bye!